one of the most important things that Bernie Sanders has done in both of his campaigns and the work of Jacobin Magazine, to the extent the work we're doing is rematerializing politics, making serious things like poverty and inequality not bigoted fairy tales or, over complexified technocratic nonsense, but just getting to the basic reality of why serious problems exist, what material deprivation is. And Ilhan Omar gets it, and she articulates it incredibly well. Here she is speaking at a House subcommittee, and she's going to sort of actually basically connect the real causes of poverty in this country with, in fact, another type of responsibility that we have as a public, which is actually a broad general compassion, concern, and empathy for all of us. This is very well done.
I'm a little frustrated because I heard a lot about love. And one thing that I know is it's not because of the lack of love that we're not able to feed our children. It's not because of the lack of love that we are able to house people. It's not the lack of love that we are unable to save people from dying because they don't have health care. It's not because of lack of love that you were able to finish college because you got help with childcare. Love has nothing to do with this. And if you want to bring love into this, you got to bring radical love. Because radical love means that we radically love every single person within our communities to make sure that we are providing for them the basic rights as humans. That's what love is. And that's the godly thing to do. You can't pray for your children to be fed, so you're not crying because they're crying and they can't go to bed. You cannot pray for your medical bills to disappear. You cannot pray for the mold to stop poisoning your children in the classrooms.
So this is obviously one of the most important emerging leaders we have in our country today, and someone that all too often in democratic leadership has not protected when the worst people in American life have terrorized her politically. But that's 100% right, and that's the Cornel West quote, that justice is love in public. I mean, the idea, though, that we have allowed for decades, both in the religious right-wing variety. By the way, there's a good example of left-wing religiosity right there, which people should take note of. But also even in this sort of like generic technocratic sense embraced by third-way Democrats, that the overwhelming force of material conditions and deprivations that cut along class and racial lines are reducible to individuals' decisions is one of the greatest frauds and delusions of our country and of all neoliberal and capitalist politics and economics. It is, I mean, think of how deep we are in this delusion that for decades they were able to pull a scam that said that national problems, disparities in funding due to property tax bases, that all sorts of different economic, racial, environmental biases and problems that affect and impact outcomes in education could all be reducible to an individual teacher in a classroom. Now, your individual action matters, and so we know that there were some teachers who had way too much burden to put on them, and they totally overperformed and were heroes in a way that no way we should expect everybody to be. And then there were others who suck. And there was no scenario, either in the hero or in the bad teacher, where it was ever reducible to their own decisions. And similarly, people in serious situations of economic deprivation, yes, their actions matter in a limited way, but never in the same way as the political and economic context in terms of reality. And we also know that when you put that level of stress on people and that relentless pressure on them, and then restrict their options, that necessarily affects your capacity to even begin to make long-term decisions. So good for Ilhan Omar, and everybody else needs to be relentlessly debunking that lie and myth in American life.